welcome to another wonderful interview for Voices from the Grid. My name is Sasha Kaplan. I am the Eternal Red Ranger, and I'm sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend, the voice of Zordon himself, David Fielding!
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. As you can see, I just finished moderating a panel. I have a lot of energy still.
Yeah, I see.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Getting along.
So walk me through a little bit. How did you come to voice one of, and visually as one of the most iconic characters of the entire franchise?
I had made a lot of friends at my undergraduate college in Texas. And one of those friends was actually working at Saban when I moved out in the summer of 1992. And she called me up and said, "Do you want to audition for this kid's television pilot we're putting together?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And I went down there thinking that it would be a cattle call, that there would be 15,000 other guys going to read for it. But when I got down there, it was just me and another guy. And I ended up being the guy that they chose. So that was that.
That is so cool. When do you think you realized that this was like a big deal? When was that moment for you?
That was a big deal for me the first Christmas of 1993. Walking through the mall, looking for presents for people, and wondering why KB Toys was being overrun. And then walking inside and seeing the Power Dome that had my face on it, I was like, oh, wow, okay. I'll never see a penny of that.
Oh, that's so sad, but also so true.
Yeah.
What has been like the reaction from fans? Because I know you've been doing the convention circuit for many years. What has changed? What has stayed the same? What stands out to you?
It's always great. It's always very humbling to meet people from all around the world who have been positively impacted by the show. And so what has changed for me is the stories that I used to tell were little anecdotes at a party, like, oh yeah, I was on this kid's television show, to now being very aware of trying to live up to the expectations of these people who look up to the character, and I try to honor that as much as I can.
I think that's a very lovely way to say that.
Yeah.
He was such an iconic character. Walk me through a little bit about Zordon leaving, right at a point where it was like, the Rangers were getting older, you have a new Alpha and a new, this is when Demetria was brought in. Did you choose to leave the show?
Yeah, I did. It's not because of anything that was happening on the show. I was just very unhappy living in LA. I wasn't auditioning, I was working 2 jobs and afraid I was going to be living under a bridge from week to week. So I was just burned out, and Tony Oliver, the head writer of the show, kept trying to tell me to just wait it out another 6 months, but I made the decision to leave, and had I stuck around for another 6 months, who knows what would have happened, but yeah.
That's incredible, and it's always hard to make it in LA, period, regardless of whether you're trying to break into acting or just trying to survive. It's a tough economy out there.
Well, I mean, I also went out there very late. I was 29 when I went out there. So my BS detector was, pretty low, and I mean, I had a very high BS detector, but my tolerance for it was very low. So I knew that the industry was going to ask me to change certain aspects of my personality or my beliefs. And I was like, no, I'm good. I came out here, I auditioned, I got on a television show. I could check that box off and I could go away. So.
You all right?
I'm good.
All right. I know it's been a long day of talking and meeting fans. I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, especially today at Ranger Station. Do you have a favorite episode or Zordon moment that stands out to you, even so many years later?
It's going to sound really cheesy.
That's okay.
Pardon me. My favorite episode is always the first one. It's the first time that Zordon calls them Power Rangers. It's the first time he gives them power coins. Zordon coins the phrase, it's morphing time. So that's always my favorite episode.
Did you go through any kind of, because I know when, especially when you go in to do a more of a voice acting role, there's always sometimes a challenge with finding the voice. Did you go through anything of like finding Zordon's voice, or did it just come out right out for you?
I found it right away, actually. When we were doing the audition, the other gentleman was across the room from me, and he was doing sort of a mad scientist kind of version of Zordon. Very kind of high-pitched, and I thought that's kind of the wrong take. And so I just relied on my love of the stories that I read growing up of Greek myth and stories of gods that lived on the mountains, and thought this voice needs to be very commanding and very deep, and that's what I went with, and that's the voice they chose. So.
Well, that is amazing. Thank you so much for bringing such an iconic character, who became an iconic character, thanks to everything that you've done. Do you have any advice for young kids that are just getting into this franchise, or any parting words of wisdom?
Any parting words of wisdom would be never give up, look to your friends for help, and spend time out in the outdoors. Go hiking, go exploring, find the beauty in the world rather than focusing on the negativity of it.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Zordon said it, so we have to go do it. David, thank you so much for being here, for taking the time. I know it's been very busy today, so we really, really appreciate you, and thank you for sitting down with me.
You bet. Anytime.